Yes, yes, yes. Looking at greatness, look at the best. Look at the belt that is under my chest. I am your host, Keith, Champ, Creed, and you are listening to Brotivation Sports on Fox Sports Radio 1340 AM. Wow. What can we say about the past fight weekend? I mean, you don't have too many times where this occurs. In Las Vegas, you had on Friday, Ring of Honor. And then once again in Las Vegas, you had UFC 202, Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz, the rematch. Saturday night in New York City, you had NXT at the Barclays Center. And then on Sunday, you had SummerSlam. If you are like myself, a combat sports aficionado from boxing, pro wrestling, UFC, you had a pretty impactful and pretty exciting weekend. And, you know, the highlight of the weekend, if you want to pick the crown jewel of combat sports, you know, there's always been this debate, whether it's boxing, whether it's UFC, whether it's WWE, sports entertainment in general, because all of them are sports entertainment. Just so you guys know, you know, if you want to see real fights, commit crime and go to Rikers Island. You know, but if you want to see a sports entertainment fight with rules and regulations and judges, sometimes that can be good, sometimes that can be bad. We'll talk about that. You go to a fight. You go to UFC. If you like have storylines and narratives, you go see WWE. If you want to see something like a fight that you would highly anticipate, that you would enjoy, don't go to boxing because you're not going to get any satisfaction from that. But we'll get to boxing after we go and talk about Diaz McGregor 2. Now, for those of you that follow Brotivation Sports, you've seen me on my smart money picks. And right now, going into the weekend, I was 7-1. My co-host, Ava Fiore of Cleats and Cleavage, she's not here right now. She's on special assignment. She lost the bet. She's 0 for 2 against me. Overall, I am 8-1 with my UFC smart money picks. She picked Robbie Lawler, and she picked Nate Diaz. I picked Tyron Woodley. What up, Ty? And I picked the notorious Conor McGregor. Even though they had Nate at plus 100, he was the underdog. A lot of the money shifted to him. You needed to bet a little bit of extra if you wanted to win on Conor. But for this one, it wasn't more so. It wasn't about, you know, betting or gambling or anything. It was just something that, you know, that I saw. It was something about the night, something about the environment, something about the rematch, and then eventually it will be something about the money. But I looked at the first fight, and Nate Diaz was plus 400, I believe. I knew he was going to win the first fight. I just had this gut feeling because you can't move up and weight like Conor McGregor did, even though he walks around at like 169, 171. You can't move up and fight a naturally bigger man who walks around at 190 on short notice. You can't fight someone that has the ability that Nate Diaz has and the diverse tool set that Nate Diaz has on 10 days notice. I don't care how good you are. Now, you can beat him if you have a full training camp, if you watch some video and you have an applicable strategy, which is what we saw that Coach Kavanaugh applied for what Conor had to do to escape with the victory. Now, we did our keys to victory, and, you know, we played around a little bit with, my boy. And in the end, you know, I said the winner will be the notorious Conor McGregor. And I have a knack for these kind of things. Now, I will admit that sometimes I have the caveat of talking to the fighters, talking to their trainers, talking to the friends, talking to the managers, because that's the type of relationship that I have. You know, although I am in a radio station, although, you know, I may be on television every once in a while, and, you know, this sports entertainment thing is what I do. It's just what I cover. It's what I contribute. You know, I'm more so of a person that just hangs around, have general conversation, and, you know, I can get a feel of what's going on inside the head of the competitor, whether it's a combatant in boxing or whether it's a combatant in, mixed martial arts fight. The preparation that it takes to get ready for a fight is different from the preparation that it takes to get ready for a basketball game, to get ready for a football game, to get ready for any other athletic endeavor where someone is not literally trying to kill you or separate you from your senses. And when you have these conversations, it's a very delicate time. Egos are on high, emotions are high. I mean, look at Nate and Conor throwing water. They're throwing water bottles at each other like kids in a playground. But that's what happens when, there are high stakes involved. And think about it. If you're going to have a fight, I'm pretty sure my listeners have had a fight in elementary school, high school. At some point, I would at least hope you had a fight. Brotivation rule number 942. A man should have a fight once a year just to see if he still has it. Just to know if he could defend himself or defend his woman, defend her honor. You got to have a fight at least once a year. I don't care if it's for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Dave, what do you think about that? You think a man should have a fight? At least spar, slap box. We used to do that as kids. You got to do something, and when you have that, just in a schoolyard with everyone watching, there's a lot of pressure. So can you imagine the eyes of the world, multiple countries looking at you? And if you're Conor McGregor, you talked a whole lot of trash, And now you got to live it up. You got to back it up. You got to show everyone that you are who you said you were. The first fight, not so much. Going into the second fight, I like the lead up. I'm a foreplay kind of guy. I like the lead up to it. I like the chase. I like the pursuit. I like the courtship. You got to have that. You got to have the people buy in. And before the water bottle incident, not a lot of people were buying in because they thought that Nate was going to walk away with it because it seemed like he walked away with the first fight so easily, so effortlessly. And, I kind of thought that it would be difficult. And here's what I do. I'm going to give you a little inside information. When you look at these fights, if it's a rematch, even if it's the initial bout, you have to look at each guy's strategy. You have to look at each guy's, strengths and weaknesses. And one of the things I thought about was, okay, if I am Conor McGregor and I am fighting a man that is about 2 to 3 inches taller than me, that has maybe about 2 to 3 inches reach on me, that is about going to come into the fight maybe 15 pounds heavier than me, that has a supreme wrestling and a grappling and jiu-jitsu game better than mine. There's nothing that I could have learned in 4 months that would get me to the world-class level to where Nate Diaz is. What could I do utilizing my strengths to win this fight? First, I would have already known that I'm not knocking him out. There was no way that Conor's going to knock out Nate Diaz. That's not going to happen. So I wouldn't look at a way to knock him out. I'm not going to out-grapple him, so I'm not going to the floor. So what Conor had to work on, takedown defense. Now, that is something that you can pick up in a 4-month span. Learning how not to get on the ground. And this comes from a MMA practitioner. There's been amateur fights that I've had, and I know that the guy that I'm facing is like a superior jiu-jitsu player, or judo player, grappling expert. And, I'll stick and move. And when we get by the cage, I'll put my hand, I'll grab the cage. I'm not going to lie. I'll grab the cage. Dave, I'm not trying to hit the floor, Dave. What the ref going to do? What are you going to do? Give me a warning? You give me one warning. Okay, all right, that's a freebie. All right, then guess what? Most referees, they'll give you a second warning, right? Second warning, he said, next time, I'm going to take a point away. Okay, so now I know I got 2 chances to grab the cage, but in those 2 opportunities, I got to light his ass up. I got to stick and move. And that's what Conor McGregor did. He stuck, he moved, he bobbed, he weaved. He got in some serious exchanges, and the engagement in the first round, the first and half of the second round, you really thought that Conor had a chance of putting Nate Diaz away. But in typical Diaz brother fashion, they start off slow, they steady wins the race, and then they turn up, and Conor gassed out. So I'm assuming at this point, all of you have watched, the fight, and you saw how it played out. So we'll just take a look at the end result. And when you look at the scores, some people think Nate should have won the fight. Some people believe that the decision was justified and Conor won the fight. Dave, did you see the fight? What'd you think? Who'd you think won? You thought Conor won? Okay. There's a lot of people online, on Twitter, on Instagram. They didn't necessarily complain about who won the fight. What I heard a majority of the engagement that I had on social media, or that I read the social media engagement, they were just happy that it was an exciting fight. It was just listen, UFC has had they've had a tough time bringing in an audience outside of their core demographic for pay-per-views, right? Conor McGregor, he's just one of these guys that he has the total package. He can talk trash, he can back it up in the ring. He obliterated all of the opposition. He felt that he needed to go up and challenge himself, to which he did. And Nate Diaz was the perfect foil. Nate by no means is his charisma and his swag and his energy and his vibe and his flow, it's the total opposite of the spectrum, to Conor McGregor. But it fits so perfectly because Nate's not the guy that's going to come up with colorful things to say. He's as a matter of fact as you come, straight directly to the point. And what happened during this road to the fight, he started to open up a little bit. I've been in places with Nate and his brother Nick, and if you are in a party, or you're on the mats, or if you're in just a regular social environment where there's a few people, you can communicate with Nate, you can communicate with Nick the same way that Dave and I are communicating right now. They're I won't say that they're poets or anything like that, but they can communicate their point. They can talk about their point. They can elaborate. They can enunciate. Everything's cool. But when you put them in the spotlight with the camera in a room of 100, 200, 300 people, then there's a little bit of a social anxiety. Every athlete deals with a certain degree of a social anxiety. It's just a matter of how they handle it. You take a guy like Deion Sanders, I'm pretty sure that when the cameras come on, he's slightly nervous, but it doesn't impede his progress and it doesn't stop him. Actually, he rises to the occasion. A guy like Conor McGregor, you put him in the gym, he's able to perform. You put some lights and cameras in front of him, he's able to elevate and perform. That's what Nate did the first fight. That's what Conor did the second fight. And in my estimation, there wasn't a winner or a loser. Everyone on that card, everyone that watched, and the sport of mixed martial arts and the fight league of UFC, they won. They won. This was something that, when we look back at it, it'll be a cultural shift in terms of how people perceive and receive the UFC as a sport. Kanye West showed up, right? Kanye West showed up. Now, Kanye West doesn't just go to anything. He has to go to certain events that are associated with either maintaining or elevating his brand. That's how calculated he is about everything he does. He's not going to waste a Saturday night out going to something that won't have people look at him in any less esteem than he would want them. The fact that he showed up to the UFC event with Conor McGregor fighting Nate Diaz tells me a couple of things. One, it tells me that UFC as a sport, with the assistance of Conor, with the assistance of Nate, even John Bones Jones, who may be coming back sooner than expected, it's become the cool thing. It's become that event. It used to be how do they say? You have those must-see TV events, and then you have those can't-miss go-to events. That fight on Saturday night was the fight that you couldn't miss. Kanye showed up, to which I'll tell you this. Kanye, his agency, they had a hand in negotiating the deal with UFC being sold from the original owner, from the Fertitta brothers, to WME and all those people that are involved in it now, right? Those people that paid the $4 billion, they want their money back. Not they want their money back in a bad way. Let me rephrase that. Not like they bought it and they have buyer's remorse. No. They've invested $4 billion in this property, which is the UFC, which is the equivalent of Star Wars, right? The Star Wars franchise was acquired by Disney for about $4 billion, right, Dave? And yeah, Dave shrugged his shoulders. Yeah, well, I'm telling you, Dave, this is Brotivational knowledge right here. You got to back me up. Say, yeah. Disney was acquired for $4 billion. UFC acquired for $4 billion. You're going to get your Star Wars money back in no time. Even though that first movie that dropped, I think it dropped in like December last year or something like that. I don't know. That was kind of suspect, but at some point they're gonna get it right. UFC, the new owners say, listen, we invested $4 billion. We want to find a way to get this money back as fast as possible. If you spent $40 on something and you invested $40, you want a return on your investment as soon as possible. And now moving forward, we want to look at what's the next move for each fighter, because that ties in. Nate Diaz, he went on record and said, listen, I want a rematch. I gave him his rematch. I want him to give me my rematch, and we can do it at 155, wherever you want to do it. Nate said he's going to hold out until he gets a big fight. Or I believe he'll either wait for Conor for the third fight, to which I don't think the UFC really, Dana White doesn't want to do it. The new bosses, though, they're going to weigh in terms of the financials of what they want to make, because they want to make their money back. So Nate's either going to wait it out for the third fight with McGregor, or he may get a title shot against Eddie Alvarez, because he's done. They said that Nate couldn't move the needle. It was said that he couldn't do it. He moved the needle. It was said that if you put him in front of a microphone, it may be to the jeopardy of his career or the jeopardy of the brand. He showed improve on Jimmy Kimmel. He did the media outlets, and I like the fact that with the they took a suggestion. The production team took a suggestion that if you're gonna do these interviews with Nate or Nick, it's best that you have them in a room alone with the camera and the producer and the lighting and the microphone guy, and then you probably tell one of those dudes to get out the room, because if you have them in the room, and you pretty much isolate all the noise, you can get some really good sound bites from them. And that's what they did. And Nate played his part. He got a signature saying, he got a mural on the wall, he got money. And listen, he walked out to Tupac, right? Conor McGregor comes out to Biggie. So psychologically, you already knew what the mood was when he went in there. He know what he's doing. Nate, look, they're smarter than a lot of people want to give them credit for. They played the game to a T. So Nate, he's either going to get a title shot or he's going to wait for Conor. He's got an extra couple of million in his bank account, so he's in no rush to do anything. But if you are Conor McGregor, the world is your oyster. You have a lot of options. Right now, they want him to go. And when I say they, I'm talking about, the brass over at the UFC, the matchmakers, Dana White, who's pretty much the promoter now. Not the promoter, but he's working for a bigger machine. So he has to talk and answer to a few people more so than he did before. They want Conor to fight at 145 again to defend his title against Jose Aldo. That's one option. The other option is he may want to face Eddie Alvarez well, he's not going to fight him in New York because he's not going to be clear by then, for the 155-pound title, because what he wants to do is he wants to carry two belts at once. He's looking forward to doing the Nate Diaz fight again because it's a huge payday and it's the third. You really don't get trilogies too often in UFC. Used to get a whole bunch of them in boxing. Oh man, those things were the greatest. But boxing's not like that anymore. So he has a lot of options, and the outside option, I know that, people are saying don't do it, or it's stupid, or, they're a little bit exasperated on the notion of Conor McGregor fighting Floyd Mayweather. Now, here's the thing about Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. I've always said that there was a 10% chance of it happening and a 90% chance of it not happening. In order to get back to the 10%, because it went down to 1% after he lost to Nate, he had to win. Did he win? Yes. He didn't win in impressive fashion, but it was an impressive fight. So in terms of all the social media engagement, the trends, the numbers, the live gate at the T-Mobile Arena hasn't been what they thought it would be. There's still going to be some time to adjust. The building hasn't sold out yet. Canelo versus Amir Khan, the building wasn't filled up. UFC 200, the building wasn't filled up. For this fight, they had to lower the price of the tickets within 2.5 days before because they weren't selling. UFC, their price point was a little bit too high. So the T-Mobile Arena needs to be filled. Vegas needs to make money. The people that own the UFC now, the entity that owns it, they want to make a return on their investment. That very same entity, one of the branches in the entity that owns the UFC, one of their number one clients Kanye West. So, yeah, there's no conspiracy theory here, no crazy thing like that. But they do certain things just to check it out, and they know that in order for the UFC to reach a new level, they have to start bringing in people from a different culture outside the normal demographics that they have. And when you have someone like Kanye West attend your event, you have a couple of NBA players that are out of the market come attend your event, you're starting to move into an area where, like I mentioned before, this is the cool event. This is the place to be. This is what you can't miss. You got that kind of heat going with you. Floyd doesn't have anything to do. Hell, he feels that, a 12-round fight against Conor McGregor, who kind of gasses out pretty much after the second round with the extra weight on. Floyd, make another $250 million? Would you want another $250 million, Dave? 12 rounds versus McGregor, if you could? Yeah, Dave, give me the 2 thumbs up. Who wouldn't want that? And don't front like you wouldn't buy it, because even if you didn't buy it, you'd go to the bar to watch it, or you go to a friend's house to watch it. Some people say, well, I don't want Floyd to do it because it will mess up his legacy. Floyd's legacy is money. He doesn't care about the records. He doesn't care. Well, he cares about the record. He wants to keep the O. He doesn't care about the belt. He's beat everyone that he felt he had to beat in the world of boxing. What's wrong with having this shit? He went to the WWE and fought the Big Show at WrestleMania. So what's another sports entertainment extravaganza going to do for his legacy? You know what it's going to do? It's going to make him an extra $200 to $250 million. It's going to make Conor McGregor not so much, because Floyd Mayweather, he has the ability to negotiate his own contract because he is the brand, he is the house, he is the Vegas guy. Conor's under contract with the UFC, so the UFC is going to have to negotiate the contract on Conor's behalf, and whatever the UFC gets, they'll break him off a piece. The same way Bob Arum negotiates Manny Pacquiao's contract. You have a situation where Conor, although he won't make as much as Floyd, it will be, should the fight happen, he will make the most money than any UFC fighter has ever had. There's a little bit more money in boxing, or there has been a little bit more money in boxing than it is in UFC in terms of the fighters, because the UFC, they have to get their cut first, then they break it down. I do believe that there was a fight one time with I think it was the John Jones versus Ovin St. Preux card. This was UFC, I think it was maybe UFC 197. And then around that time, Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, he had a fight against some bum. Yeah, they just have him fight bums, except for Willie Monroe. I like Willie. They've had him fight some bum. And Triple G and his opponent, they wound up making more money than the entire UFC 197 fight card, So, but there's a reason why, and, I would probably do a whole nother show about the financial breakdowns between boxing, UFC, MMA, because I know a lot of you guys are interested in it, and you see my posts at Champ Creed on Instagram, at Champ Creed on Twitter, Keith Creed on Facebook, and at Champ Creed on Snapchat. You see me post these things in terms of the financials, just so that way you can take a look behind the curtain, get a glimpse of the game, get a glimpse of the money. And that's just something I like to offer because, it's been my expertise for a while, for quite some time. So, Conor would make a lot of money. Do I think it's going to happen? I would say there's a better chance of it happening now that he's won as opposed to what it was before. And, on that note, I'm going to take a break. We're going to cut. We're going to go pay some bills because I'm not making $250 million for this radio show. So when we get back, we'll talk a little bit more about boxing. May it rest in peace till 2020, because after the UFC fight, UFC 202, a lot of profiles changed from Mayweather-Pacquiao to McGregor-Diaz. We'll talk about that on Brotivation Sports right after the break. Welcome back to Brotivation Sports on Fox Sports Radio 1340. This is Champ Creed. You can find me at Champ Creed on Instagram, at Champ Creed on Snapchat, at Champ Creed on Twitter. My sing-song days are behind me, but my fight analysis is always on point. Fleeky. Well, listen, I was talking about it before the break, about how much Triple G made fighting a bum versus how much John Jones made. And, during and after the fight, I go on social media to gauge and see what the, what the public likes, to see what's going on. And on my feed, right? I'd say maybe 60% of my feed has to do with sports and the personalities within the sports. Primarily fight-oriented stuff. And then the other half, or let's say 40%. The other 40% is, news, information, people I know. And then I think I may maybe have a few Instagram models on it. How many Instagram models do you have on your Instagram? How many? There you got thousands. See, I don't subscribe. No, Brotivation rule number 24, right? Never have more than 10 Instagram models on your following list, on your account, because should you ever start talking to a girl, she's going to see who you follow. She going to see who you like, right? And now the thing is, Dave, because this is a teachable moment for everybody in the world of Brotivation, right? She's going to start to compare herself to the girls that you follow. And one day you could just be coming in minding your own business. You might finish playing Madden, might be finished playing 2K, and then she going to start arguing with you out the blue. And you're going to be like, well, what did I do? I'm just sitting here playing 2K. I'm sitting here playing Madden. I'm here minding my business. I'm watching a fight. What you angry for? What you fussing for? And she's going to go, whatever. That whatever is because she's seeing all them damn Instagram models that you got, that you following, that don't look like her. And she's going to say, oh, so that's what you like, right? So no more than a handful. All right, you got that? Brotivation rule number 21. Now, getting back to the point, because we're going to get to the Brotivation. We're going to get to the game after the game. We're going to get to that. But boxing. Now, this is it's very difficult for me to tackle because I actually know a lot of cool people in the world of boxing. I mean, I've been working the combat sports beat for a while. I've had my business in the world of combat sports. I've had jobs. I've had hustles. I make my come and go flow is through the fight game. And there's the boxing side. There's things that I like. There's things that I don't like. There's the MMA side. There's things that I like, things that I don't like. But the one thing that's important, and I said this on the show early in the summer, is the fan appreciation and the fan satisfaction. Like, if John Jones was taken out of UFC 200, right? He was the headliner versus Daniel Cormier. DC was mad, and it kind of messed things up. Anderson Silva came in. The fans were happy. They were pissed off with Jones for a little bit, but once they announced that it was Anderson Silva, they said, okay, we got to fight. And after the fight, the fans were happy. They were happy coming and going. You go on social media, engagement, comments, likes, they were there. I could not imagine if there were a boxing match headlined by Andre Ward, and let's say Andre Ward got hurt, there would be no replacement against Kovalev. Let's say he's fighting Kovalev in November. Let's say they do all this lead up. Andre Ward, something happens, right? And he can't fight. What's HBO going to do? They're going to cancel the event because there's not that many fights on a boxing card for pay-per-view anyway. You might get 3 fights. You might get 4 fights. Boxing, it's always been a strategy. And I'll share this with you. On one side, you have your risks, and on the other side, you have your profitability, right? So every fighter and a manager, and I learned this, I'll give him props. I learned this from the New York State Commissioner, Randy Gordon, who worked with Don King, worked for Ring Magazine, worked with Dave DeBuscher. He worked with a lot of people. He has history. And one day he brought it out. He said, this is what promoters do. They look at how they can maximize the profits, and then they look at the opponents. They look at the highest level of risk versus the lowest level of risk, and then they look at the highest profitability versus the lowest level of profitability, right? Right. So now, if you're a Canelo Alvarez, right? Your highest level of risk would be against Triple G because you'd have to move up in weight. Triple G's a knockout artist. He has skill. He does have skill. He sparred him before, so he knows what he's going to get. And then also Triple G is your highest reward because in the boxing world, that's a fight that people want to see. It has the potential to cross over into the mainstream and draw some eyeballs and some dollars from people that don't normally watch boxing, because the media tour for that will be crazy. But it's not going to happen. Not a few days, after they announced the Anderson Silva replacement in UFC 200, they announced that Triple G's opponent was going to be Kell Brook. Then they announced that Canelo Alvarez is going to be fighting Liam Smith. Now, what the foolish part about this is that Canelo brought Triple G in the ring after he knocked out Amir Khan, who's like a natural 143-pound guy, and he said, I got the balls of a Mexican. I'll take on Triple G anytime. Well, it's anytime. And then now Oscar De La Hoya the other day says, oh, we're not going to have it September 2017. We're going to wait till Canelo Alvarez is ready. No, nobody got no time for that bullshit. Nobody want to wait for that bullshit. Boxing, no one has the patience. The media cycles now go very, very quickly. You can be forgotten. You can be left behind. As evidence of that, if you don't give the fans what they want, they'll go and find it elsewhere. Kind of like drugs. If your dealer leaves, they're going to find somebody. He might have some stuff that might have been stepped on 2, 3, 4 times, but it's going to be something for them to get they high, to get they get right. And boxing, the violence, the pageantry, the characters, the drama, it used to give us that, in an authentic way. Outside of that, in a playful manner, was wrestling. But even wrestling had those moments like when they broke Dusty, when the Four Horsemen broke Dusty Rhodes on. You remember that? You wrestling fan? You remember that? Everybody remember when the Four Horsemen jumped Dusty Rhodes. It used to give us that. Boxing, it's not there anymore. And now some people blame Floyd Mayweather. They say, oh, Floyd, he started this thing where it's all about money. Listen, when you fight, you don't have there's no retirement plan for somebody that's all sold out for the fight game. Floyd, no matter what you say, when he fought, who he fought, how he fought, who he fought, whatever, at the end of the day, the result was a win. And with each win, he built up the leverage to command what he wanted to take. He saw his profitability. Bob Arum didn't see the potential in Floyd because he let him go. Floyd bought out his contract. Floyd invested in himself. He took the risk. That's a huge risk. That's a huge risk to take yourself out of a contractual obligation to top-ranked boxing, which is fucking top-ranked boxing. He invested in himself. And he felt that this is what he's worth. His team, they worked to build his brand. He built his brand. He kept winning. He created his gimmick, his character, the Money Mayweather persona, and he worked hard to deserve that. Fighters look at Floyd and they say, you know what? I want to be like Floyd. I want to do what Floyd's doing. He changed the game. But guess what, young fighters? He worked for it. He earned that right. He created the opportunity. A lot of young fighters now, they feel self-entitled. They feel that they are entitled to command leverage to fight the different fighters. Now, granted, in terms of your boxing career, your first 10 fights, you just want to get confidence. And then that's what promoters do, because you're an investment to the promoter. He wants to make sure you got your confidence, you got your tools of the trade, you got those things. Your next from fight 11 to 15, they step you up in competition a little bit just to test the waters to see if you can hang, and this is the trajectory of a boxer's career. Then from fight 16 to 20, it's like, okay, we're going to move up to, a world-class level of fighting, not the elite level yet, but the world-class fighting. And then once you get 20-0, 20-1, 22-1, 23-1, that's when they throw you to the wolves, they throw you to the lions, and then the best fights happen. Sometimes with certain fighters, it takes a long time. Canelo Alvarez is like in his mid-20s. He already had 40-something fights. He's been fighting since he was 13, 14. So, his trajectory, a little bit different. You got some guys now that are 18-0, haven't really fought anybody. 22-0, haven't really fought anybody. And when I say by anybody, I'm talking about on a world-class level. You don't need to fight the world-class level and the elite level yet, because you got to figure these things out. The last fight on an even plane that I could think of that we had was the Keith Thurman versus Sean Porter fight. I like Keith Thurman. I like Sean Porter. I really like Sean Porter because he won me some money when he beat Devin Alexander. I tell him that every time I see him. Thank you very much, Sean. Marcus Brown, Eddie Gomez, Danny Garcia is cool. I think he's a cool character. I just think they need to put him in there with a higher level of competition. I think it's time for him to step up. Adrian Broner, he's a talented guy. I think the people around him can do better to serve his brand than what he's doing for himself. You know, from a career standpoint, personality wise, I've only seen the guy a few times, never had a conversation with him, so I can't judge who he is. But I thought that he would be the key to usher in like this new talent. It didn't work out. The baton wasn't passed. And every generation, you have to pass the baton. You know, listen. Conor McGregor, Irish, came over here, built himself up, fought Nate Diaz, knocked out Jose Aldo. He's everywhere. WWE has Finn Balor. He just won the WWE World Universal title. He was on Good Morning America channel, so he did the media rounds. He's Irish. He got injured, but he was everywhere. Carl Frampton, Irish. If I'm not mistaken, I think I don't know, Dublin? I can't remember where he's from. Carl Frampton. He beat Leo Santa Cruz. Leo Santa Cruz is a world-class elite fighter with a resplendent record. He was upset by Carl Frampton. You know where I saw Carl Frampton after that fight? Nowhere. Promotional wise, if this were the early 90s, 80s, and if it were the 70s, you'd see Carl Frampton everywhere. The media outlets have not. After Floyd and Pacquiao, they said, that's it. We don't think the fans are going to respond to this sport the way that they once did because UFC's around now. And UFC is giving you more bang for your buck. You buy a $60 pay-per-view, you're getting 5 fights. You buy a $60 boxing pay-per-view, you're getting 2-3 fights. And in 2 of those 3 fights, you don't know who, there's no character attachment. Why? Because a lot of the boxers, a lot of them, not for nothing, this particular class in this era, these have to be like the least charismatic boxers that I've ever seen. You know, back in the day, you know, you think about Pernell Whitaker, and I'm not a back in the day guy. You know, I'm not a dude that I don't like to look in the past. I like to look at now, and I like to look at the future. But you got to sometimes look at history and cross compare. And I swear, like this generation, these have to be the least charismatic cluster of boxers that I've ever seen. And now, I don't know if it's them, they're shy. I don't know if their promoters tell them to be quiet. I don't know if, I don't know if the media, I don't know if the media is asking the right questions to bring out their personality, because a lot of it has to do with the media. You know, people in this arena, Howard Cosell brought out the best in Muhammad Ali. You know, there are different writers, different journalists that bring out certain things, from the fighters when they're not giving it to them. And now we live in I hate that there's the blog level, and then there are certified bona fide journalists. If you don't pay your internet bill or your phone bill and your blog goes off, whatever, you're done. That's it. You got to figure out another way to get to the public. If you're a radio station, you write for a newspaper or magazine, if you don't pay those bills, you still got a job. And for you to keep that job, you have to maintain certain standards. And for you to maintain those standards, you have to go through some training, if it's not a nepotism situation. And I think that we don't have the proper grooming of journalists and the least charismatic motherfucking fighters ever. I'm going to look up this guy's name. His first name is Livingston, right? I think it's Livingston. Is it Livingston Bramble? Let me see. Livingston Bramble. Livingston Bramble. There we go. Livingston Bramble. See, now mind you, Livingston Bramble, he wasn't like, the crazy, he wasn't Sugar Ray Leonard, right? But this guy was, when you got him in an interview or you met him in person, you would want to see him fight just from talking to him. I remember this guy, I saw a feature on him and when I was a kid, and the guy, he used to walk around and used to jog with a snake. Like Jake the Snake from WWE. He was a boxer that did it. That's personality. That's something that I couldn't remember his last name. I remember his first name, couldn't remember his last name, But he had something that compelled you to want to watch him fight. Another guy, Emmanuel Augustus, the road warrior. Not the, he doesn't have a 50-1 record or anything like that. But if you talk to the hardcore boxing fan, you say Emmanuel Augustus, they know who you're talking about. His videos on YouTube, younger people found his videos. They started to remix him and everything. And, he charismatic in the ring. I don't expect everyone to have both, to be able to talk on the mic and to be able to fight well. It's very rare. You get spoiled by, Mike Tyson gives you sound bites. Muhammad Ali, well, that's just, that's breaking the mold. Sugar Ray Leonard, Roy Jones Jr., Tommy Hearns, Hagler, the best fought the best. They didn't care about that whole risk and reward bullshit. They were like, who's the best guy? I'm going to fight. We going to figure it out later. Boxing used to be war over business. Now it's business over war. And the fans don't like it. The fans are trying to find another fix because those bloggers, the journalists, the writers, the aficionados, what I saw on their feeds, on my Instagram feed and the other feeds, they said, and the overall sentiment was, damn, I remember when boxing used to have fights like this, referencing Diaz versus McGregor. You're only nostalgic for what no longer is. And if what no longer is, and it is not what it was, then you, my friend, have something that's gone. And don't ask me to say it twice, because that came off the top of the dome, Dave, okay? But you get the point, right? It's gone. Boxing, there's no one to pass the baton to. These guys, one guy, a buddy of mine told me, he said, if I fight this guy, they got to pay me more money because the amount of damage I'm going to take, I'm not going to take that unless I get whatever. That's the equivalent, and I got to use this, my boy Cisco. He said that's the equivalent of a guy signing up to work for the fire department. There's a 4-alarm blaze, and he tells his chief right in front of the fire, well, you know what? I'm not going to put out this fire unless you give me a little bit of extra money. But what I'm going to do is that garbage truck dumpster fire over there, I'm going to go do, you take care of the 4-alarm blaze. I'm going to do that, that raw Salka fire over there because, I'm going to put that out, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You signed up for it, bro. This is what we pay you for. We pay to see you do your thing. We pay to see you do your thing against the best. And somebody's like, fans don't know. Nah, fans got your money. Fans pay. So fans can critique. And I got a little problem with a lot of the journalists and everything. I understand being cool, but I also understand being professional. Some of y'all out there, y'all a little too buddy with these fighters, man. And y'all get a little too personal. Now, if it's your personal time, it's your personal time. That's what you do. That's how you get down. That's how you get your leads. I ain't got no problem with that. But if you see them pulling some bullshit, and you see them hold their feet to the fire. That's what this game is about. When it's professional, look, if we playing ball, we playing football, basketball, we playing hockey, and it's go time, and the ref got the whistle, ain't no friends. I got a job to do. My job is to win. If I'm covering this sport or you covering this sport, your job is to get the best information out there, the most accurate information out there, for the fans, for the people that subscribe to you. Because if you hold them accountable and you see that your sport is damn near on life support, look, the Olympic judges can't get boxing right. The promoters can't get boxing right. TV don't want to spend no more. TV don't want to spend no more money on it. Boxing is turned into an ESPN 8 affair. Like, who got ESPN 8? You got ESPN 8, Dave? I don't got ESPN 8. But you know what? That's where it need to be, because nobody want to watch the bullshit that's being put out there. And I know I'm a little bit emotional about this. I usually don't get like this. I'm usually calm and cool. But it's just that you grow up with something and you see it slowly die. And it's like, damn, you could do so much better. UFC made $4 billion. PBC's losing money. New York State raises the price on insurance for fighters. Mid-level promoters can't put on fights in New York. If you can't put on key marquee fights, developmental fights, showcase fights in New York, what does that say for the sport? What does that say for the future? There is no future unless you turn this ship around. Now, boxing is not the Titanic. It hasn't hit the iceberg yet. But if you want to be on ESPN 8, keep doing what you're doing, and UFC is just going to take all those young fight fans that want that action and excitement and be in the place to be. Although they might not be paid as much, sometimes for other people, it's a little bit more than money. It's about the glory, and it's about the challenge, and it's about the sportsmanship, and boxing needs to bring that back. I don't think it comes back till 2020. Brotivation Sports Radio, 1340. Champ Creed. We'll be back after these messages. Welcome back to Brotivation Sports on Fox Sports Radio 1340. Yeah, well, before we get to the game after game, well, it's almost like the game after the game. Actually, it is. So, welcome to the game after the game segment, where I talk about the most important game of all is how you play the game of life. And right now, you know, I won't use the term doghouse because I don't like that. I don't like that comparison. But let's just say the principal's office. Right now, we have 3 people in the principal's office for their athletic exploits. Not their athletic exploits, but their exploits outside of athleticism. You got Ryan Lochte. Well, we all know by now, this dude, he lost millions and millions of dollars for doing something he had no business doing. He was silly. He lied about it. Somebody started snitching in the group, all because maybe and maybe not he didn't answer his phone. Maybe he was doing a little bit of extra activity. Didn't want to get caught. Fabricated this whole situation. Wound up getting in trouble for petty vandalism. And, even if it was petty vandalism and you paid the dudes off, you would have been cool. But then you're going to lie and talk about, gunpoint. And, he lucky they ain't lock his ass up over there, Dave. And he lucky you watch the show Locked Up. Well, we were just talking about TV. I watched a show called Locked Up Abroad, whatever. No way you want to go to jail in a foreign country. Like, people here in America take a lot of things for granted. One of the things that they take for granted is sometimes, I'm not advocating going to prison, but if I had to pick a place to go to prison outside of Switzerland, maybe outside of Norway, it'd probably be the United States, because at least you get 3 hots in a cot. Some of these places, you get a hole, some hay, and some oatmeal with raisins in it, but that might not be raisins, if you know what I'm talking about. He just basically, he destroyed his career. He's at the end of his career, Olympic career, lost all his sponsorships for something that could have been alleviated had he had a brotivational chaperone, had he had a swing bro, a wing bro. The wingman is your wing bro. The wingman is for you to, when you go out dating, you need the wingman to take care of things. The wing bro is to help you handle all of your brotivational needs. That's what Ryan Lochte needed. Usain Bolt, he's in the principal's office. My man got caught on IG and the tabloids, tonguing the young joint down. Like, listen, I know you want the gold medals, bro. I know, you're feeling yourself, man. I know, but look, you got a gorgeous woman back home. And listen, attraction is biological. You can't fight it, Sometimes you need to find things to kind of like get in between that, You gotta have a wing bro to say, all right, listen, which one you want? You want that one right there? All right, social media here. The tabloids here. Look, you go to such and such, boom, boom. And I'll send her to such and such, boom, boom. Meet her there, no cameras. Look, I even guard the door. Why? Because I'm the wing bro, right? That makes sense, right, Dave? Because now, although I don't think his woman's going to leave him, because his endorsement money is way long, way long after the important, performance he had. But still, it's just not a good look, It's not a good look. And she made good. The shorty made good. She played her cards right, She this is Brotivation. She practiced some hotivation. She sold a story. She sold a story to the news outlets, the tabloids. They had her dressed with the Jamaican shirt. They had her doing this with the Jamaican flag. Now that's hotivation for you. She made money off of that. I will not knock her because it's tough times in America, but it's even tougher times down in Rio. So she made us some money. She got 2 kids too. They ain't gonna have to worry about nothing for going back to school. They straight. That story, them tabloid stories make you money. There's an economy in that, but we'll talk about that on another show. And now switching gears to a serious issue. Although he is not a professional athlete, an Olympic athlete, or a semi-pro athlete, at one point in time, Nate Parker was a collegiate athlete. Nate Parker, he's coming out with the movie about Nat Turner called Birth of a Nation. It was bid. It was a 7-year passion project. The bidding went to Fox Searchlight for $17 million. So he made his money back and then some. He won an award at the film festival. Sundance Film Festival was supposed to tour at different film festivals now. Supposed to be different awards that he's scheduled to win. And something from his past has come up. He was proven by the court not guilty. He was acquitted, actually. There was a trial with a young lady who's no longer here, so we can't talk about her. I don't believe in that kind of thing. But she said at that time that, some inappropriate things occurred with her, Nate, and a third member who actually helped him write Birth of a Nation. And Nate was acquitted. The third gentleman, he was found guilty, but then they had a retrial, I believe, and then he also was let off. I think he did 6 months, and then the young lady, she no longer wanted to testify. I get it could be stress, it could be you don't want to be purged, it could be a lot of things, right? It's unfortunate that something from 18 years ago has come back to kind of like mar the potential success of this film, which is a landmark film that's dropping at the right time. One of the things that they say was that the young lady was drinking, and when you read the court testimony, no one, Nate didn't drink, the other gentleman wasn't drinking, but she had a drink that she apparently poured herself. Now, this is a serious Brotivation rule. This is just a rule of life, actually. Never have any sexual intercourse with a woman that is inebriated or have more than one or two. Actually, it's almost to the point where you can't have sex with a woman that has a drink at all, because if she wakes up in the morning and she doesn't remember what happened, and she feels the slightest tinge of violation because she doesn't know what happened, or she might have had something happen and she regretted it. Maybe she could have had maybe she has a boyfriend and she don't want the boyfriend to know. Maybe her parents maybe don't like black people or something like that, and she don't want them to know. Or maybe she has a girlfriend that the girlfriend thinks that she's strictly lesbian, but sometimes she like part-time dick, whatever. What I'm saying? I'm serious. These are things that, they don't want people to know, and they'll say, "Oh no, I didn't sleep with him. I was violated." I don't even like the R word. I don't even like saying that. But just because that particular type of crime is just, I just don't like that. Because I feel as a man, when it comes to anything that incorporates, your attraction and bringing in the opposite sex, I believe it should be a finesse game. You know what I mean? She should be willing to share herself with you. She should be compelled by the man that you are to give herself to you. I don't believe in that, you don't like me, or when, outside, just be like, "What up, ma?" And the girl be like, and they be like, "Oh, well, F you then." Nah, man, you're not a caveman. You gotta have some game with you, homie. And that's just the lowest. That is the lowest part. That's not even Paleolithic man, Neolithic man. That is just, you're just a mongrel, a goblin. You're below human existence in my eyes, if that's something that you have to do to get your jollies off, And when you have alcohol or you have drugs involved, sometimes your inhibitions get a little bit out of control, and you do what you do. But in these days and times, man, listen, I wouldn't do it. And especially if you're an athlete or you have a position, a social or public position that you need to maintain. Nah, bro. Nah. You, of all people, bringing it back to the point on some seriousness, you need a wing bro. You need someone to say, "Nah, don't do that. That's not a good move. Nah, she drinking. No, you know what? Wait it out. Oh, you want some chicks? All right, listen, I'll find somebody that's not drunk." You just need someone there. If you can't do it yourself, you need someone there. And actually, you know what, Dave? Switching gears, I think there's a business in that. You know, I think that there should be an agency where athletes listen, that's what Jerry Jones did with Des Bryant. When he wanted Des to do, Jerry Jones, he went and got someone to hang out and chaperone Des Bryant just because he didn't want him to get in trouble before the draft, during the draft, after the draft, whatever the case may be, you know? So we're going to examine this wing bro possibility here, and I think I'm more than suited. You know, I had some guys come and hang out for the NBA Summer League, you know, out in Vegas, and I made sure that they were taken care of, made sure they were out of the mix on the strip, you know, not in, you know, they had a good time, but they weren't in any danger, you know. Pardon me. Brotivation Sports, Champ Creed, Fox Sports Radio. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Now, I know I've promoted this for quite some time. Welcome to the 2K Cuffing Season Fantasy Draft. You know about cuffing season, Dave? You remember the calendar that I gave you, right? So now we're about at that time where everyone has to start making assessments on their potential roster for the fantasy draft. Now, I can't do your draft for you. You have to do your draft yourself. But what Brotivation Sports and Champ Creek can give you, we can give you the guidelines to make the proper assessment for your 2K Cuffing Season Fantasy Draft. And here we go. First of all, you got to look at this like any other draft. You got to make an assessment. Get your pens and pencils out. If you want to use other utensils to write this down, get your phone out, get everything ready, you know, because you might want to put this down. So I got to move the microphone here because there's going to be a graphic right in front of me. First thing you want to put down on your card is height. Then you want to put down weight. Why? Because there are classifications. I'll give you the weight classifications in a little bit. And then you want to put age. You want to put age because, you know, maturity is a big factor when you want to spend some time with someone. If they're immature, you're not going to want to spend a lot of time with them. But if they're mature, they can carry themselves the right way, you want to spend a lot of time with them. Now, when you look at weight and you look at body type, some people may say, oh, you're being, you know, I can't even think of the word right now. Oh, you're being shallow, or, you know, listen, everyone has different physical standards, and the good Lord made things in pairs, right? So if you have a particular body type that you like or that you carry around, I'm pretty sure that you can find someone that'll appreciate it. Different people appreciate different things. Just because they don't like what you have, that doesn't mean that they're wrong or they're shallow. It's just that they don't agree or they don't rock with or they're not turned on by what you see. And that goes both ways. That's men and women. I learned something there's a phrase called the dad bod. Have you ever heard of that? The dad bod is the look of a middle-aged man that looks like he's supposed to wear some Steph Currys or something like that, whatever. And I say that and you're laughing, but the dad bod, I saw a photo of it, and guess what? You know, I'm at the age, I'm in the second quarter, and I'm almost in the middle of the second quarter of the Brotivation man phases of life, where that's something I got to worry about. I don't want a dad bod, Dave. Why? Because I just don't want it. You know, some women might like a dad bod. I don't want to see myself like that. I wouldn't turn myself on if I had to carry that around, you know, but that's just me. So now going back to the Brotivation 2K Cuffing Season Fantasy Draft metric system, what we have will be coming right after the break. Ladies and gentlemen, stick around. This is Brotivation Sports, Fox Sports Radio 13. Welcome back to Brotivation Sports. This is the 2K Cuffing Season Fantasy Draft Brotivation metric system. Now, what I'm going to do, because we're pressed for time here, I think I'll just have to give you, I'll give it to you as best as I can with the time that we have left, right? And then for any other things, any other questions, I think we'll just do a whole nother show on it if we have time. So the Brotivation metric system for the 2K cuffing season fantasy draft. What you do is you got 10 categories. These 10 categories, you rate them 1 through 10. Those will be the points. So when you finish the 10 categories, the maximum you can have is 100 points. The 100-point rating system is similar to 2K. It's similar to Madden. It's similar to even wrestling ratings that they have in WWE 2K. So here are the 10 components. Ready? Here we go. Graphics activated. Number 1 on a scale of 1 to 10 in the Brotivated metric system is the face. Girl got to be pretty. You're going to spend more time looking at her face than looking at anything else. So when you take into account the face, you look at the eyes, nose, lips, teeth, ear. Me, I get punched in the face. I got punched in the face for half my life as an amateur fighter. So, yeah, and I got another fight coming up soon. So we can't get that Invisalign yet. So look, I'll put my insecurities out there. You put your insecurities out there, but the face is very important. Everything else looks gorgeous though, doesn't it? Now, number 2, the tits. Guys, we like tits. Some do, like them big, some don't. Now, there are various dynamics when you look at breasts and boobs, whatever, right? You know, there's nipple, there's areola. Some women even have hairy tits. Hey, listen, however you judge it, whatever you like, far be it from me to tell you what you should put. But that's the second one, tits. Number 2, there are women in here in the back, by the way. They're coming in here to do their stuff after me. I'm sorry if I offend you, but this is what the guys need because I'm going to get to the more important stuff later on as we go around. But a lot of people go on attraction first. Number 3, the ash. You understand, Dave? What did I say, Dave? The ash, right? Yeah, the ash, right? The derriere, the curvature. 1 to 10. Some guys like them flat. Some guys like them plump. Hey, whatever you like is whatever you like. Now, the last thing, which usually in marriage, you know, people divorce in marriage. 1 is always finance. 2 is always bedroom skills. And number 3 is usually religion, which is kind of weird when people break up, you know, because of religion. But bedroom skills, the performance in the arena of the bedroom, sexual pleasure. Those are the things that keep people around when everything's going wrong. That's very important. You know, equally for the women, equally for the guys. And ladies, don't worry. I'll come up with your Brotivation metric system for the 2K cuffing season 2, but I got to take care of the fellas because they listen to my show more than you. All right. So the first one, let's go recap. You got the face, you got the tits, you got the ash, you got the bedroom skills. All right. Now, in the second segment, we're moving to something that's a little bit more important. We'll start surface and we'll work our way up. We're going to chemistry and character. Chemistry and character is very, very important for the simple fact that if you can't get along, none of those things that I just mentioned matter because they will run their course. You have to find things that bring you together with the person, those commonalities, those bond, intellectual, spiritual, even entertainment. You gotta be on the same level as the person because if you don't have chemistry and that person is of bad character, which you're looking at the emotional behavior, psychological, intellectual, if those things aren't on point on a scale of 1 to 10, then everything that I mentioned, it's not worth anything. This is more important than the first segment that I mentioned. After that, on a scale of 1 to 10, agreeability. You have to have someone that even if they don't agree with you, they can understand your perspective and they won't fight you and be stubborn. Some people are not agreeable at all. They believe what they believe is the absolute truth. They're very dogmatic and they will not change. That is not a good element to have in any relationship. So agreeability is very important on a scale of 1 to 10 in the Brotivation 2K cuffing season metric system. Consistency and commitment. A lot of people are flaky. A lot of people say they're going to do something and then they don't. A lot of people say they will and then they won't. If you can't build credibility and consistency and maintain commitment with your word, then you have no value because you are not reliable. There's trust and there's reliability. I can trust that you might want to do something, that you might want to be the best person, but you're only reliable if you carry out that trust and you carry out that faith that that person has within you. So these are the things that are a little bit more important than the first segment. Once you get older, you start to see what's important versus what's not important, and then you got to balance it out. But that's why the Brotivation metric system for 2K cuffing season is here to help you make the best well-informed decision on who you want to align yourself with. Now, going on to the next category. Intelligence. Intelligence, it can go either way because, you don't want a smart ass, but you don't want someone that's dumb either. Nobody likes to hang around people that are dumb or stupid or just reckless. When I say intelligence, I if you're a man, these are the things you have to take into account. There's conversation, spending habits, decision making, problem solving, and most importantly, her exes. Because if a woman's made some poor choices in the exes that she's involved herself with, chances are you're going to bear the brunt of that. And you don't want to deal with that for the whole cuffing season. So intelligence is very important. So that's, the conversation, yeah, but intelligence is the factor in which you want to look at all of these things and judge it on a scale of 1 to 10. The last two, because I got to go. Social media index. And what I mean by social media index is if a woman has 10,000 followers, 20,000 followers, 100,000 followers, she ain't got no time for you. She ain't no time for no conversation because her phone gonna be blowing up all the time with alerts, chirps, chats, all that. She ain't got no time for you. So if she has a moderate amount of followers, that's cool. That means that you have time, because if she doesn't, you're gonna have a hard time keeping her interest, unless you're a baller or something like that, or unless you're Usain Bolt. And then the last but least, intangibles. Intangibles can be any metric that you have that you like to gauge. Hey, listen, if you like bowling and then she loves bowling, then guess what? That's a huge intangible. If you like hunting and she likes hunting, guess what? That's a huge intangible. But guess what? If you like beef, pork, steak, ribs, and she's vegan, not an intangible. It's not going to work. Her intangibles for you are low. So you want to yoke yourself and link someone that has intangibles that add to what you're doing, that you can make sure and ensure that you have a good time. So before I go, the Brotivation 2K cuffing season fantasy draft metric system. Face, 1 to 10. Tits, 1 to 10. Ash, 1 to 10. Bedroom skills, 1 to 10. Important stuff. Chemistry, 1 to 10. Agreeability, 1 to 10. Consistency and commitment, 1 to 10. Intelligence, 1 to 10. Social media index, 1 to 10. Intangibles, 1 to 10. You tally up the scorecard, you get the numbers. We don't grade on a curve. You match them up, slice them and dice them how you want. And there you have your Brotivation metric system for the 2K cuffing season fantasy draft. I'm the wing bro. I'm here to help you out. Brotivation Sports. Follow me at Champ Creed on Twitter, at Champ Creed on Instagram, at Champ Creed on Snapchat, at Fox Sports 1340, and we out.